Hi, welcome to another episode of WebEx Wednesdays at 1. I'm Kim.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Zach.
And we're from Hungerford Technologies. So we're talking all things Teams today, and we want it to be very interactive, so make sure you comment. But in order to comment, you're going to need to be logged in. If you happen to be on our website, you'll need to be logged into the Twitch platform. So I will share my screen here quick and show you guys where to go. So to find our past episodes, you go to Services, Cisco WebEx, WebEx Wednesday at 1 Archives, and you will see all of our past episodes. They pop up from our most recent episode all the way down to our first episode.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks, Kim. So yeah, like Kim said, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we go live because businesses, companies, small businesses have a need for virtual meetings, especially right now, virtual events. So like Kim said, today's topic is going to be kind of continuing the series that we've started a couple weeks ago, how to get the most out of WebEx. And today we're going to talk about how to get the most out of WebEx Teams. Usually at this point, I turn it over to Ben, but I'm going to turn it over to Zach. Oh, that is myself. And I'm going to walk you through just some tips and tricks, little things you might not know about Teams, some things that you might know but need more clarification on, or things that you just have no idea about Teams. So before I share my screen, just go over a little bit about what Teams is. So Teams is free. It's a free piece of software that comes with any of the plans that we talked about last week. Otherwise, if you just want to try it out for free, you can go on and find it online. You can talk to us, you can talk to Ben, but it's a free software. It's a free extension of WebEx services, and primarily it's used for messaging and contact-to-contact calling. Ben will kind of cover calling maybe at a different point down the road, but today we're just kind of going to go over the software itself. So I'll share my screen now. And at first glance, there is a lot to kind of take in. There's a lot of information, a lot of open space, but that's because I created a test space with Ben so you could see kind of what it looks like if you're sharing with a group. So this is just one of the spaces that we can be in. I'll kind of go over each section of here before we go any further. So
yeah,
like
one thing too, before you get started, Zach, that I would say is a nice thing is in the team space, well, nice for some people, probably not nice for others, is if someone's seen it, you can actually see that logo in there where it shows my face, and it's like green. It means I'm not only active, but I've also seen his message when he started the space. So
yeah,
a lot of no kidding around. I never saw that message.
A lot of times I send messages to people if I haven't heard back from them in an email, because then I can see when their face pops up and I can see them.
It's so great. You know, with iPhones, you have that bubbling, like the little bubbles when you know somebody's texting you back, and then they go away. And I'm like, I know you saw it. So now you can't really hide from it. It's right there. Like Ben has seen my message that I created this space, so he has to be aware of it. We're not going to get into why Ben hasn't messaged me back just yet. We're kind of going to go over a couple of different things at the top here. So like I said, I created a space by hitting the plus icon, and I created it. So I named it Test Space 2. Fairly easy name, but there's a lot of things inside this space that we kind of want to get to know. So if you hit the cog, it opens up even more unknown things that you're probably like, wow, this is a lot of information. I'm kind of going to go through them briefly. I'm not going to dive into anything way too much because these are questions that you can ask down the road if you are yourself trying to get into Teams more. By the way, we are in the Spaces feature of WebEx Teams. Spaces is just a fancy name for every person, every space, everything that you've talked about. It's all right here. It's kind of like your directory for anything that you're going to be using the rest of the time while you're in Teams. So I created it. The cog shows a couple different things. So I can edit the space settings. I can tweak a couple things inside of my space if I want to with Ben. If I'm really busy, usually it's the other way around. Ben is pretty busy. So if I know Ben is busy for the day, I might turn notifications on, might turn them off. Or if, I'm busy and Ben's not busy, he's kind of at home with his kid. Oh, Zach, how's it going? Did you see the new fantasy? No, Ben, I don't have the time today. I'll turn notifications off. We'll kind of get to add apps a little bit down the road. We have it down here in the bottom left, and that's a huge space that could probably be a whole nother episode itself to get into, but we won't do that just yet. Space policy, what rules are set, add this space to a team. Ben and I have come up with a lot of good ideas and say we want to share them with Kim. So I could always add this to Kim, or I could add this to another group. You see, I have a couple on my side. Yep, we have one for WebEx Wednesdays. I could add this space to that group so that we could carry on and say like, hey, we have a lot of good ideas. Let's put them here as well. Let's share those ideas. Moderate the space. If this group is starting to grow more, say this group is for Ben and I's fantasy golf that we have at work. And I want to be a moderator and Ben wants to, so we can bring in new people. We want to bring in Kim. We want to bring in some other coworkers. I can create myself and be like kind of like the boss of the space. So if anything is said or if anything is posted, I can delete those things. This probably will be better if you're inviting people whom you possibly don't know on a personal level. Say it's a huge space for an external company or external customers. You can always add moderations to that space. And then meeting capabilities. Ben, do you kind of want to go over that, or should we just kind of leave that ambiguous for now?
Yeah, so there is some things that you can tie into WebEx meetings and kind of have more of a seamless experience. A lot of times I like to do those on a case-by-case basis based on what customer needs are, and just kind of talk through the potential tie-in to what they're already currently doing. But yeah, it is an option. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about that, we can set up a time to talk separate from this. And then another thing too is just so everyone knows, the HT Fantasy Suite is a kid-friendly fantasy football space that we created. So sometimes people are like, "What is that?"
It's going to be
what it is.
Fantasy football soon. I got a little star next to my cog. That's my favorites. So if I go back over to the huge directory over here, I can do filter by, and I can actually filter by the favorites groups. So as you can see, there are a lot of groups over here. I do apparently not have any favorites, but I know I do. I have a couple ones that I've favorited because I need those to show up more primarily. I need those to be pushed to the top. Like I said, if Ben's messaging me about his fantasy golf, I don't really need to see that. I need to see work. So I'll have work rise to the top. It is a favorite, and we'll kind of put that there. Over here, say I want to change the name. This is our 15th episode of Teams. So let's say Team Space 15 because software always gets updated. Change the name. It then allows me, I rename the space. It tells me what's going on. Again, Ben can't escape it. He's seen it, but he's on Do Not Disturb this time. We'll get to that in a second. Meet. So this is if I wanted to meet with Ben, I could click on the green Meet button. However, that is best featured in WebEx meetings. Am I right, Ben, or am I wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times, like what I'll do is I'll actually call Kim or you or someone through WebEx Teams, the application, and just do a quick call with someone because I can just click on your name, click on the top, and just make a quick call to you. And because we're on the same team, I can just easily connect to audio with you and say, hey, I was thinking about this, and I don't have to dial your number. I don't have to type anything like that.
Yeah.
So most of the time, anytime you're doing actual video conferencing meetings, 90% of the time it's better done inside WebEx meetings because there's a lot of additional features and things that make that solution better used for video meetings than inside of WebEx Teams.
And I would normally show it off, but I know if I click Meet, my camera that's being streamed right now will go off because it'll flip to that. So I won't do that. I'm not going to test it for you, but you kind of get the idea. This will be similar to the single person that I'll show you in Kim, but messages is pretty self-explanatory. Any message that occurs in this topic of conversation will be put right here. So I can say something like, hey, Ben, and that will show up. Ben hasn't seen it yet. He just did. So now he can respond if he wants to. Cool. Ben needs to learn how to type. We understand. That's okay. People. How many people are in this group? How long is Do Not Disturb turned on till? Ben apparently doesn't want to be disturbed until 6 o'clock tonight. I respect that. But if I wanted to add more people, say I wanted to add Kim, I can now add Kim to this group. She will be, boom, now Kim's in here as well. So this is really great. If you know that you're going to be collaborating with more people or you need to message the people in the space, you have the right to do so over here on the right-hand side. Content, anything that we have shared in this conversation, in this grouping, we can always share. So Ben shared something into the group. Don't know what that is. Not really worried about it, but it's right there if we wanted to see it. This is really great if, say, you have a lot of files that are being shared between people in a group. If you have been sending back and forth pictures or memes or GIFs, GIFs, however you want to say it, however you want to persuade it, you can debate it in here if you want to. That's where you can do it. Schedule a meeting. This ties in with Outlook. So create a meeting using Microsoft Outlook, send the invite to complete scheduling. I don't really do that many meetings. I'm not that important. Ben and Kim probably have way more meetings than I do.
You are important.
If they wanted to schedule something through here, they could. If they're talking
one
about
thing
it.
I would say too, Zach, under the content link there, is you can actually do whiteboarding too. So in the upcoming weeks, what we'll talk about too is whiteboarding and tying into like video conferencing units, because you can open up a space and you can actually draw on the board, but save to the space in WebEx Teams. So we'll go into that further in other episodes. Another nice thing under that content button there is links.
Oh yeah.
So any links that I paste in the room, a lot of times I'm like, I know I sent this link over to Zach, and then I can just scroll up in there and see, okay, there's that link that I sent over, and then I can click on it or copy and paste it in my browser too.
Yeah.
So it's not as tough to find where information is, because I can go under content and search for files or whiteboards that we've done together or links that I've pasted into the window.
Yeah. And especially now, I mean, with how busy, life is, working remote or working from the office, you do forget things. People tend to forget things. And it's nice that this is kind of like a huge, like a brain inside of a brain that you're able to just go in and be like, oh, I did send Ken that link for the fantasy football draft that we're having next week. It's right here. Found it. Perfect. So that is
too. Before we started using this tool, the way that we got people to actually buy in and use it for business purposes was actually with fantasy football and then the GIFs, because people were like, I'm not really interested in using another tool. Email is fine. And then we added them to these spaces, and we actually created a fantasy football space was the first thing, because people weren't joining.
Yeah.
And then once we did that, people started using the GIFs. People started adding memes in there, and then we were using it for those purposes. And then everything that we've done now, I mean, we have so many different spaces that we can, communicate with different people in, that it makes a huge difference. Not only because it cuts down a lot on useless email between the team, but also because a lot of times I add customers who are on this into different spaces, and then they can quick ask me questions through WebEx Teams, and I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. You do this. But if they would have sent me an email, it could have got buried between 10, 15 different emails that I was getting all at the same time. Yeah,
and it's so much quicker. I mean, there are benefits and negatives to how fast it can be to get somebody to have attention to what you're doing. But for the most part, the positives do outweigh the negatives, and the ability to just send somebody a quick message in here instead of waiting for an email to go through is hugely beneficial. And that can be said for a person-to-person conversation. So I have a conversation with Kim going. You can tell that we send dog gifts.
Clearly, I like to send pictures of dogs, although you might have noticed there was a chunky little Oscar meow cat right behind me when we were doing the intro, which is why I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there for like the first 5 or 6 minutes.
Kim's an animal lover, and we'll be fine with that. So as you can tell, it's a little bit different here. Some of it's the same. So the Kaga is the same, favorites. They act exactly the same as before in a group. I can't change Kim's name. Kim's name is perfect the way it is, so we'll leave it. Her do not disturb is turned on until about 2:59, so that's a good thing. On the right, though, you'll notice a couple different things. Screen share is one of my favorite things to use in Teams because I am new to the Windows environment. I worked at Apple for 5 years, so Mac OS, iOS is my wheelhouse, but I'm still learning a lot of Windows. I'm still learning a lot of Teams. So say I have a question for Ben or Kim, and I just don't know how to phrase it correctly. I don't know how to verbalize what I'm doing. So I'm just like, Kim, this line on this blue thingy, help with this. And I can share my screen. I can show her visually what I'm trying to do or what I'm struggling with so that she can help out. And I think that's one of the best features of Teams is that you are always collaborating. You're always communicating effectively and efficiently with somebody because of the resources that they've given you. calls and WebEx Teams calls with video, we'll go over that another time. Not really needed right now with what we're talking about with Teams. If you do have questions, reach out to us. Ben is a great source of information for this. Kim is as well. I will be helpful. But what you might notice is in the threads, we have a couple different things going. So, as before, I can see messages. Profile is a little bit different than before. I can see Kim's email. So if I wanted to send her a little bit longer message, or if I wanted to send her an attachment, I could. I can also do that in here. I'll show you in a second. But also if I wanted to join her personal meeting room, say we had to talk about a bigger project that didn't involve just typing it out, face-to-face video, we can do that right here. Content. We have worked on stuff in the past, so we have a little bit of content here. We have no whiteboards. We have a couple links to YouTube videos, it looks like. I think that's more in line with Cisco stuff because I'm, like I said, learning a ton. And then, as before, schedule. So again, if I wanted to schedule something with Kim, I could put something here, send it over to her. She would accept it. She would decline it. We would see. I didn't cover these two on this side because it's a lot easier to do when you have information in a thread already there. So view threads I'm part of. I have nothing in this conversation with Kim. That is totally fine. We keep things pretty above water. We don't really talk about anything else. That's totally cool. However, Kim and I have talked about iPads in the past. So if I hit the search button, it then says in Kim. So what that means is in the messages of Kim with her, I can search for iPad. I can search for anything that we've talked about previously. So again, working at Apple, Kim found out. Kim started asking me questions about iPads. Perfectly normal. I accept all Apple questions after working there for so long.
Kim's trying to get that free labor.
But the great thing about the search function is just that. Like if, again, you forget something and you're like, I had this conversation with somebody before, you can go into your conversations with them, type out what you think it might have been, and it'll point you on the right track. It'll get you to where you need to go. And you can say, oh, I did talk to you about this. I remember what I said about that iPad. I said it was $300. Well, they came out with a new one. Now it's $150. That's just how technology works. That's how it is.
Well, and they keep all the history in it, and you have to be very thoughtful if you're going to delete a message. So unlike emails where sometimes you're like, oh, okay, Zach asked me about this, delete. Okay, I already did it.
I don't need it anymore.
Search through conversation history for a really long time. So that's really nice. You don't end up losing things accidentally.
Yeah. So like I said, Kim sent me this this GIF of this dog. Cute. There's a button. I can pause it. I can play it. I can download it if I really like it. If I want to send it to Ben later, I guess I could. I can start a thread. So I can just say, LOL, this is so funny. And then what it'll do is underneath that, it will start a thread. So if we wanted to keep conversing about this dog, I guess we could if we wanted to. However, we're going to move on. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't want to move on just yet. I actually think this is super funny. I'm going to laugh at it. Oh, and Kim gave me a thumbs up. It's the little things like this that help you just kind of have a clear form of communication with your teammates. Nothing really needs to be said. I didn't have to say this is so funny. I could have just put an emoji on there and it would have been great. My favorite part of these is that they're animated. So when you first do it, oh, it's not there, but over here it is. The little animation is right there, so it's pretty funny. If I wanted to quote it and be like, Kim, remember when you shared this? I could, again, go back to that thread, laugh at it, have a good time with it, giggle, we're good to go. If I wanted to forward
thumbs
this,
up because you can acknowledge that, okay, I saw the message.
Oh, yeah.
I liked that idea without having to go into your email and type something out that's really long.
Yep.
You just
The
know
amount of
that they're on
times-
the same page.
the amount of times I use the thumbs up within like my spaces is ridiculous because you're exactly right. Like some things, like we all work remote. So if somebody says, hey, I need to go to the bathroom, it's not like a blah, blah, blah. It's just a thumbs up. You acknowledge it. You know what they're doing. And they come back. Hey, I'm back. Another thumbs up. We're good to go. It's great. Kind of wrapping this up. If you wanted to quit, I already did. If I wanted to forward it, I could forward it to Ben. Or if I wanted to flag it later for follow-up, I could flag it and then it would just stay flagged. So then I can go back and say, oh, I flagged something. Where is it at? Down at the bottom here, we'll just kind of go over these pretty quickly. Attachment makes sense. Everybody's worked in email. You can attach pictures, files, anything you need to. screen capture. I can capture my screens that I have right now. You might see me looking over here. I am looking at my notes every once in a while, but if I wanted to capture all of my screens to send to Ben to say, hey, I'm working on this issue. I have this issue. Can you look at this for me? I could capture it. Font, I can change the font. So if I need to say like, something in bold, not that you should ever use bold. Bold is for specific reasons.
Bold in all caps.
Bold in all caps. If you want to be sarcastic, there's italic. And if you want to make something a little bit more important, there's underline. So anything that you would use in a regular word processing software, it's all right here for you. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty intrinsic. That's the wrong word. I don't know why that word came to my head. It's pretty intuitive. Is what I wanted to say. Yeah.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. Emojis and symbols, once again, my favorites are the thumbs up and the oh my gosh. If I wanted to send Kim a GIF, I could. I'm not going to. Or if I wanted to invite her to my personal room for a meeting, I could also do that. We're not going to do that, but that's kind of like a brief overview of what we have in here. People, yeah. I can go right to just go ahead, Ben. What's up?
Oh, what I was going to say is like there's just so much that the tool can do, and so many additional integrations, and widgets and plugins that you can add in.
And that's down here in the apps. I mean, you're getting ahead of myself, but we'll cut to it really quick. So in apps, that's kind of what Ben's talking about, is that there are so many like plugins for Salesforce, for Outlook, for I think there's like a COVID screening tool, something like that. Like there's so many little plugins, little things that you can add to this to make it more intuitive for your company. I'm not going to go over those because there's just so many, but like I said, you can talk to us, you can talk to Ben or Kim or myself, and we can kind of show you what the differences are and what things you can use. I know, Ben, you were talking about using some of them. I haven't really dabbled in them. Do you have one that's like stands out to you the most that you use most of the time?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times the things that we use obviously are like tying in some sort of a like bot that either helps you be more efficient, and so that you can see your schedule in Outlook, or if you have just to add funny things to a room, like there's a GIF bot or a meme bot or something like that, and you can write something into the room, then you can add it in, and you can add those different bots in. But there's just so many different integrations that you can add for just business functionality reasons too, that will make your day-to-day easier, more productive, and tie into all of the other things that you're already doing. So a lot of times this makes a lot of sense from the simple standpoint of when you think of something like a Microsoft Teams can do tons of stuff, but the problem is it's not very intuitive and not very user-friendly. So if I can teach someone who, is a 60-year-old office manager how to use WebEx Teams, and they can get the gist of here's what I need to do inside of it, here's how I message people, here's how I reach out to someone, and they can get the basics, then, pretty much anyone can get the hang of it. And they can, work in their, individual spaces or teams or, with customers and cut down a lot of email and just be more efficient most of the time at what their jobs are.
Yeah. So Spaces, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of Teams. We're going to get into the entrees here in the second and the sides, but just to kind of wrap it up, this part, people. So if I wanted to search just by people, I wanted to look just for Kim, boom, I could say just people, or I could say just Spaces, because then we can go to the test space, see that article that Ben sent me again. But one of my favorite things to do is to filter. So I do enjoy filtering by either favorites, unread, at mentions to me. That kind of puts it at the top, right? So if I wanted to say favorites, well, I guess I was wrong, folks. Favorites is only test space 15. Well, sometimes you get embarrassed live on screen, but that's okay. Next, we're going to go through Teams. So Teams is something that I am a part of. I have a couple different teams that I am a part of. So our support team here at Hungerford Tech, a huge Hungerford Tech, just grouping for everyone. And then HT support team. So external customers. We do have some external customers that use WebEx that we can chat with them through. So we have that as a grouping right here. Again, we'll get into this if you have questions, but it's kind of just like a larger grouping of people can be in these sections. Anything
One
else
thing
to put?
I like, you said, you can have people who are external, like not on your domain or network, but they do have a nice little orange arrow. So it says like, there's somebody who's not from your space here, which is really nice. We don't need to know that, but it's just really intuitive, really nice way to reach out to both customers and internal.
You'll see on this next one for contacts that I don't have too many contacts. And that's because I when I was introduced to Teams, this was mainly the space that I lived in. Ben, do you kind of want to go over contacts a little bit and also maybe calls?
Yeah, what I would say is inside of the contacts, obviously the contact space, if you add some additional things in there, I can have like top contacts saved, and it just allows me quicker access to reaching out to people that I've designated with that category. I don't usually use that a ton inside of the space, but what I do use is the next thing is calling.
Calls, yeah.
And so a lot of times I use the application because anyone that I'm communicating with, whether it's someone at Cisco or inside of our internal team or even with customers, it's so easy because all of these people have, for the most part, have the application on their phone too, that I can just click, call them up and say, hey man, I just had a quick question for you. Won't take up too much of your time. But then other thing is too is if I call them and they're not available, it'll say inside the space, Zach is unavailable. And then when Zach sees that, he says, hey man, I'm actually on a call with a customer. Can I give you a call back? But then it just alerts me and lets me know what's going on and lets them know once they get off of whatever they're doing that that person was unavailable. So I love it. I am a huge fan of using WebEx Teams to make calls and call customers. And another thing that we'll cover in later episodes is just if you're using the Cisco collaboration portfolio and you have Cisco video endpoints, I can take what we're doing in a team space. I can walk into our conference room, go to our video endpoint. I can throw up everything by just sharing to that screen, talking about what we're doing there. And then someone can say, oh, we should probably do a WebEx meeting, and then start a WebEx meeting right there inside of that space from the video endpoint. And then, if you have WebEx calling, like there's just so much that the tools inside Cisco's collaboration portfolio can do, and it makes it really easy to go from one thing to the next and just help you be more efficient at whatever your job is.
Yep. And then finally on this side, before, we kind of covered apps, we'll get the help. Meetings, again, don't have anything placed here, but if I wanted to start a meeting right through here to go right to, I'm assuming it goes right to the meetings, WebEx meetings, right, Ben?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I've never really used this because either, if it's a big group meeting, I have the meetings app on my computer on my phone ready to go, or I have the Teams app ready to go. But say I wanted to start a meeting with Ben and Kim to kind of go over what topic we might cover next week. I could start a meeting through here, or I could start a meeting through the app on my computer down here at the bottom. The last thing I want to go over is something that I kind of skipped over in the beginning because it is important, but kind of want to bring your attention to it for the end. My profile and settings. So this is kind of like the hub of everything that you might want to know about you as a user in WebEx Teams. So as a user, I want my people to see, the people that I work with, my face. If I wanted to change it, I definitely could. I have a coworker that his profile picture is a squirrel. It's the funniest thing in the world. I also love it. Maybe I'll change mine to a dog.
Even funnier, it is a squirrel, so.
It is a squirrel, yeah. We actually talked to the squirrel. It's insane. If I wanted to change my name, I could. If I wanted to be the formal version of myself, I could put Zachary, but I don't like that, so I'll just keep it as Zach.
Or Sir Zachary.
Or Sir Zachary. Oh, man, that's dangerous. I could do that if I wanted to. My availability, I can change it to whatever I want. I think Kim put hers at 4. Maybe Ben put his at 4.
4. I think I just did 1 hour.
Yeah. Or I could set a time. So if I know that I'm going to be on vacation for a week, I could easily say, just kidding. I could just say tomorrow. 24 hours.
Smart. I usually change my status.
And that's what I was going to get to next. I usually change my status if I'm on vacation to traveling, out for lunch, working from home, be right back. Or I could say like on vacay, and then put a peace sign because I'm on vacay. You could find it.
Another thing to note about that too is if you have the Outlook integration, when you set up your Outlook calendar to say I'm out of office, it'll also transfer over into WebEx Teams so that you're showing as out of office inside of Teams as well. So if you do use that, then you can do it that way as well. So it's really actually really kind of cool.
I clicked on settings, and I'm sure your anxiety went through the roof because there's, again, a
dark
lot.
Mode. I'm also a dark mode user. Not everyone might use dark mode though. They look at your Teams, they might be like, that looks different.
Yep. So I'm a huge fan of dark mode. This is what it normally looks like, and it's going to blind me. Oh, I'm not restarting WebEx Teams. Not doing that. But settings does open up a whole can of worms. It gives you a lot of different options. I can use my microphone if I want. I can use my camera, or I can use a software for my camera if I want the notifications turned on or off for this area. If I want different sounds, dark mode versus light mode. If I want spell check turned on, where I want files to be saved to. There's a lot of information here that if you have questions about, we can answer, no problem. Or if you wanted to just look it up online, you could also do that by clicking the help button in the bottom left. Anything that's on here, you can search for through this, and it'll help you or direct you to the right question. Also, we missed connect to a device, but Ben kind of touched on it. If you have any Cisco-enabled devices in your office or at home, you can always just throw this up, stream it up to whatever you're using to be able to see it on a bigger screen, or to have facilitate a meeting or facilitate a conversation, I guess, in a thread. Is that what you were going to say, Ben?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of times what I can do is if I'm meeting with people internally on our team, I can walk into the space. I can click connect to a device. It'll show that we have a Cisco video endpoint in there.
Mm-hmm.
I can click on that. I can cast up whatever we're sharing. We can go over it. So if we were doing an employee review, or if we were talking about a customer, or if we were talking about general things that the team needed to work on, we can just go into that space and into our conference room and do that. Mm-hmm. If everyone's virtual, what we're doing nowadays, then we just open up a space, and then we can, if I'm here at the office, I can walk into that room and connect to the device and share, or I can start a WebEx meeting, then connect through the device, and then share with you guys from there too. And the nice thing is nowadays, there's no real need for long cords to be pulled out and who's gonna wrap this up and hide it behind the TV and plug it into our computer when we go into the room. So that's another thing, just from a convenience standpoint, is if you're using multiple different devices from Cisco on video endpoints, just easy, seamless wireless transitions into these different spaces. And we have multiple at our office. So a lot of times if I look over my shoulder and see that this space is booked, if the doors are shut, or if I look in the Outlook calendar and I know that it's booked, that space, then I can go down to any of the other conference spaces or look in my Outlook calendar to see if they're available, and then schedule on those spaces, and then walk in, start a WebEx meeting or share to that device too.
Yeah. And the other thing I love about WebEx Teams, probably my favorite thing, is that I also have it on my phone. So
on my watch too.
That's incredible. I have a Garmin, so I don't have that on my watch. But if last night, I had some questions for Ben, and my laptop was just a little bit too far out of reach. So I got on my phone, messaged Ben, he messaged me right back, and we were good to go. So the integration across, your PC, your Apple device, your iPhone, Android, it's all there. So it's a great benefit for really anybody. And did I mention it was free? So if you want to talk to us about plans, you can always reach out to us and ask us. But like we talked about last week, Ben, right? It comes free with pretty much any plan that we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually if you're a WebEx customer, then you are getting WebEx Teams included for free. If you already are a WebEx customer, you can go into your admin portal and click on the users and activate by checking a box next to their name the ability to use WebEx Teams, and then they'll get an invitation to set up their WebEx Teams account. So yeah, it's really pretty simple. It's really nice, easy to use. And I like it for the simplicity because a lot of times, no matter what a user's technical abilities are, they can get WebEx Teams. And a lot of the other chat platforms and messaging platforms from a business side, some of them can do everything you want it to do, and all of these different automations and tying into all of these different things and have like really complex settings, but they're not as user friendly. And then people usually don't buy into that as well, because it's not simple for them to use, and it's not easy for them to message different people on their team, because they're like, I don't understand where I go. I don't know how to have a video meeting. And I don't even know how to open the application. So there's a lot of those kinds of things too. That
I enjoy that it's all right here. I mean, like even with Kim, everything is literally right here for me to use. It's super simple. Kim, do you have like a favorite thing about Teams that you enjoy the most?
I love, especially now being remote even more, how seamless the transition can be from phone to watch to computer, because sometimes there are things that happen after hours. You just have a quick question and you don't necessarily want to go turn your laptop on, get back in work mode, but you need something answered. I just love how seamless the transition is between use of devices, and then especially love the ability to connect to a device when you have to go into a meeting and you just walk in. Everything you need is right there. It's really seamless and awesome.
The last
experience, especially for people who might not be as techie, like I'm in marketing. Tech's not necessarily my strong suit, so it's super easy and convenient. I love it.
And the final thing I'll say is, as you might have noticed, Kim kind of cut out there a little bit. Internet's been an issue for me and Kim recently. But the cool thing about Teams is, like, say the internet goes out at Kim's house and she needs to use her phone. She can get right on her phone and keep continuing a conversation with myself or Ben, even if the internet's down at her house, even if her computer isn't working. With the integration into iOS and like Android, you can easily carry on a conversation wherever you're at, whenever you need it. So you don't need a physical device like a computer or a laptop in front of you at any time. But I think we covered as much as we could. You guys feel pretty good?
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, what I would say to everyone listening too is there's so much that you can do with the solution. And so just the surface layer is really easy and quick for new users and people new to technology to just start using it and start getting in, and as they grow, they can experience additional new things. But then you can also tie it into other business applications that you guys are using. So scalability, it's not just a simple business messaging platform. It can be tied into a lot of other things that you're using. And if you're using other Cisco technology, it just makes it simpler and easier and more seamless, depending on what you're doing and where you're going and how you're doing things and how you're meeting virtually, especially in today's world, in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, cool, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. So as always, if you're looking for a full feature or a free trial of WebEx or Teams, or you're a current WebEx customer with questions, reach out. We have an email address and we have a website. So the email is info@hungerford.tech, and our website is pretty easy, hungerford.tech. Next week, we'll be continuing the series as well, focusing on just WebEx in general and what benefits can help your company out. Thanks for joining us this week. And as always, from all of us at Hungerford Tech, have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.